this session, and we're going to be having this available as well. Kerbie was kind enough to let us record, and we'll be pushing this out on social media, as well as having this on the Chamber's YouTube page for anyone that was unable to attend today for that. But before we get going, I do want to thank all of our sponsors for Hustle in Heels. So let me share my screen again real quickly and have the opportunity for them to, if any are in attendance, to address the crowd here today. So we will go up to the top if my computer will cooperate. And would like to thank Go-Go Squeeze for being our education sponsor. And do we have anybody from Go-Go Squeeze on the call today? Apparently not, so we do want to thank them. We also want to thank GLAD. GLAD is our connection sponsor for today, and I saw a couple people from GLAD that were on the call. Let me stop sharing my screen. You guys have a chance to speak real quick.
Yeah, we have a group full of lady leaders here in the main conference room at the plant, so happy to participate.
Fantastic, and so we appreciate your support and give you an opportunity to speak real quick.
Anybody in particular want to speak?
You go ahead, you're good.
I'm not even supposed to be here. I'm not a lady. All right, I think we're good here. We're just here to learn.
Okay. Yeah, this is Dean Fisher at the GLAD plant. I just want to hey, thanks for this opportunity. I'll speak up for Matt here, and I want to thank Matt also for getting us connected here. GLAD's been in Rogers for 50 years now, and we've quietly, I think, set over here on 13th Street, and over the years we've had a very diverse workforce come through here, and this is our opportunity, I think, to step forward and do a better job of connecting with the city of Rogers and bring forth all the opportunities that GLAD can bring to a place like Rogers. Rogers has been great for GLAD, and GLAD wants to return that. So this is an opportunity for us, and we appreciate the chance. Thank you.
And closing in on 50 years in operation in Rogers, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, because I remember when I just first started at the Chamber, we went to the 40th year anniversary, and that was just over 10 years, just under 10 years ago. So we appreciate your support and everything that you all do to help, not just with Hustle and Heels, but also the other Chamber programs that GLAD sponsors as well. And then our signage sponsor, which when we're back to in-person meetings in May, is Printova Studios. And so we are appreciative of their sponsorship as well. So we're going to roll right into this. We do have somebody manning with Jennifer Fox with Thrive, or part of Kayla's team with Thrive Real Estate with House Inc., is manning the chat behind us. So if you do have a question, you can send it through the chat feature. We'll probably wait for questions till the very end as well. So if you want to vocalize your question instead of type, you can wait till the end, and we'll be sure to have that there as well. So we're just going to go ahead and kick right in here. And Kerbie, you've been patient for me to yammer. They get me in front of a camera and I just go nuts, you know.
Well, so thank you for having me.
No, we are so appreciative of you being able to participate and then share a little bit of your success story here with us. So starting, you purchased Frame Shoppe here in Rogers 5 years ago, yes. 2016. And how did you get to that point? What made you decide I want to own a frame shop?
So buying it, I kind of looked into it, but honestly, the thought of owning my own frame shop happened way before, like 2002. My first job out of high school was with Hobby Lobby in their custom frame department down in Fayetteville. And art was really the one thing that I knew I kind of had a little bit of a God-given talent for. And so right out of high school, when I got married young, there wasn't anything that I knew I for sure wanted to do, but I'm like, I like art. Hobby Lobby was right next door to the store that was where my ex-husband was working, and so it made a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. Interviewed, they hired me, got on at the custom frame shop, and I knew I enjoyed it, like the hands-on aspect of it. And then, a lot of stuff happened throughout the years of starting a family, staying at home, bouncing around a little bit. And then I had an opportunity to work at another frame shop mm-hmm. part-time here locally and had worked there. And then I had gone into actually Walmart recruiting for a little while, just as an office manager. And I learned a lot of stuff to do with business then, grew, I think, a lot in my confidence of just dealing with people. And then, but it was still one of those things that I liked, the hands-on stuff. Office job wasn't necessarily what I saw myself doing. And I reached out to the owner, Robin, late, October, November of 2014, I think it was, when I called her and asked, hey, are you looking for any help? And she wasn't, but then she informed me that she was thinking of selling in a few years. And so I'm like, okay.
The wheel started turning a little bit.
Started turning, and I'm like,
plans.
okay, how do I get there? At the time, I was a single mother of 3, and I had some money in savings, but I'm like, how do I get to own my own business? I didn't know anything about really running my own business other than working for small businesses and working with the owners. And my dad had been owning his own business my entire life. So, I mean, I guess I'd seen some of it, but there's a lot to it, and it was scary. But I ended up kind of that first step of getting back into framing. Crazy as it was, I left a full-time job that had made more money at than I ever had before, left that security and went to a part-time seasonal $10 an hour job at Hobby Lobby in Rogers. Because it's one of those things where I knew I could get a job there. I went in and asked for it and they gave it to me. It was Christmas season. And so that was probably one of the scariest things to do.
That's a risk, absolutely.
And then, crazy enough, it was basically a year later when I got to purchase this. So it didn't end up being 3 years, as Robin originally thought. So I went and worked part-time at Hobby Lobby. And that, then it was April-ish, March, April, I ended up transitioning into a daycare and helping at one of my friends. Her mom ran a daycare, got married in April. And so I was doing the daycare thing, and it was like August time. They were going to send me to some more in-depth training for the childcare. And I was like, gosh, here it is 8 months down the road. I'm not doing framing anymore, because I did learn pretty quickly when I went back to Hobby Lobby. I'm like, okay, I've not forgot the basic skills of measuring things and kind of design stuff. But anyway, 8 months down the road, I'm like, I really have veered off, and this employer is getting ready to sink some training into me. This isn't what my original goal was. Before I get any more immersed over here, I need to find out whether or not the aspect of Robin selling her business was still on the table.
Right.
And so I reached back out to her, and she had a really busy summer. She, I think, had like some arthritis issues and things. And she was like, you know what, I'm ready to sell it to you sooner than later. And so I started talking to Arvest Bank and gathering some information. I learned through one of the people I worked with at the daycare that the University of Arkansas has a great SBA program that you can tap into, help you with your business plan. And that's kind of the crazy part, is that I thought it was going to be at least 3 years, and then it happened within a year. And the SBA loan program was fantastic. I got to buy the building with the business. And so I think it was less risk to the bank. It was also a whole lot less risk to me and my husband personally, because it was like, well,
you get to be your own boss and your own landlord. I mean, come on.
Yes. It was like, okay, well, if I just completely screw this up, at least we have a building.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That real estate, is usually a pretty decent investment.
And with the way downtown's been blowing up, I mean, that's a solid investment 5 years later.
Yes, that has been a little bit more of a pleasant surprise. I didn't know Onyx was going to be coming in. And stuff, and that's been huge. I feel like.
Then with the park getting ready to open in a couple weeks, that's gonna.
Yes. So it was kind of happen chance.
So what was it that, I mean, that's a huge leap of faith to go from a full-time, secure, regular paycheck job to follow your passion? I mean, what motivated you to say, this is what I'm passionate about. I'm going to take this step.
You know, if looking back, I think I was probably done with the job of where I was working, but I think what really made me say, okay, I need to do something different. We actually had a car crash in November. It was my dad's 60th birthday, and we were heading back from Missouri. And so we're going 70 miles per hour down the highway there close to Anderson, and just boom, a deer jumped out. And my boyfriend at the time, now husband, but we weren't engaged at the time, he was driving, kept control of the car, but it totaled the car. My 3 kids were in the back. We were all okay and everything, but I think that probably even catapulted us getting engaged in a few months, you know, that sort of thing of just like, whoa, like
it could all disappear in a minute.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. There's no guarantees. Like, why do something that you're not finding fulfilling? Like, yeah. And because I do think, I think that's actually, that happened right before I contacted Robin. Yeah. So that would have been.
So that's kind of the catalyst
biggest
moment
catalyst.
there.
The other thing I would say is that I'm a huge advocate of budgeting or living within your means. And as a single mom, there for a while, there had been a lot of unknowns when it came to financials, and I just really hunkered down and made sure I was living very well within my means. And so when I started to make more money at this office job, I got my student loans completely paid off. I started saving money. And so, I mean, it's not a whole lot of money, but I had $10,000 saved as a single parent. And so I was like, I can go part-time. I know what my bills are. I can cover myself for a little while, and we'll see what happens. But so I think just kind of that little part of my life of trying to live within my means at that time, I think allowed me to do that. Had I not had a little bit of financial security, I think I would have been like, I can't do it. You know, I have to make sure my kids are fed, you know, and which I think you should.
You know, I mean, you haven't met my kids, but you know.
Yeah. So I think that gave me some freedom to make that choice, for sure.
No, that sounds just what I hear is you had your passion, but you wanted to jump into it, but you also needed to make sure that you had a plan in place. It wasn't just a purely emotional, I love this, I'm going to go for it 100%. Like, you went all in, but you had your plan in place before you did that.
I at least wasn't running into it completely, unset, you know.
Right,
I had I had that a little bit of that financial security that I wasn't going to be worried about paying my bills. The rest of it was going to be figured out. For sure. Yeah.
So what was it that, I mean, obviously you had throughout that time, you could have at any point started your own business as opposed to purchasing an existing one. I mean, there's pros and cons to both. You can talk to any business owner, but kind of what made you decide to do that versus branching out and starting your own? You
know, I think the fact that I knew that one was going to be for sale, and that since it was going to be the first business that I owned, I think the security of knowing that it was an established business and you had your set customers kind of. But then also knowing realistically as a custom framer, a lot of it's a personal relationship between me and my customer. They may not like me. They might prefer to work with the people on the other side of town or, you know, whatever. But meeting with Robin and hearing good things about the Frame Shoppe name, like as I started to kind of float it to friends and family of, hey, you know, I might be doing this. Oh my gosh, I've used them for years, you know, and that she had a high quality. That made it very comforting to me. But yeah, I think the financial aspect of it would have been a whole lot more expensive and riskier had I started my own thing.
Well, it's always a risk, no matter what.
Yes, definitely always a risk. It was more of that security thing, I think, for me. and it worked out really well for her. And I hope that she's still happy. I haven't talked to her in a little while, but
Yeah, sullied the brand or anything.
yes. Some of her customers I was familiar with because I had worked in framing in the local area.
Right.
And so there was a cute story of one of the ladies, I think, that had been most stressed about it. And she came in and realized that we knew each other. She's like, oh my gosh, thank goodness it's you. Like, I didn't know if I was gonna have to get a different framer. Yeah, and yeah, so that was kind of reassuring, I think, for her, for her customers, that she was gonna hand it off to someone who had previous experience and maybe already had some connections with her customers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was a win-win.
Yeah, that's, I mean, obviously you're still here. So.
Yes.
And that kind of leads right into the next point is, statistically, half of all small businesses fail within the first 5 years. I know you purchased an established business, but it still is this counts as a startup as far as you're concerned. You've never owned a business before. So you get to year 4 and coronavirus hits. Everything starts getting shut down, but yet you were able to have a banner year in terms of your sales. How was that like? I mean, obviously the stress of being a business owner during a pandemic, obviously it hit everybody, but how were you able to take that and turn it into a success?
Well, I think I was fortunate enough that at the beginning of 2020, those first like 2.5 months, I'd been really busy. I had just done some reorganizing, and my back had some stuff installed for me to make my life a little bit easier, because I'd probably honestly.
You mean the back of your store,
yeah,
not your. You didn't get
shop.
like cyber,
No.
Okay, you're not a robot.
No,
I
didn't have eye surgery last year, but no. So I think my first like 4 years in business, I was doing little bits here and there to try to improve, but I'd had a baby my second year of owning the business. And so you
just like to challenge
yourself. I like to
you?
challenge myself, yes. And so I had like at the very end of 2019, like I guess fallish maybe of 2019, I'd contacted a business consultant for social media, Infinity Consulting, my friend Becky Rankle, shout out to Becky. And hopefully that's okay.
Yeah, it's your show, do what you want.
So she kind of helped me put some social media stuff out there that I hadn't been doing just super consistently. And that really started to help me connect with customers and pulling in, I felt like, more customers. And so it started off really busy. Again, I think also the Onyx effect. And then so I was kind of in that mode of like, okay, I have had this business a couple years. I've had a baby. I gave myself some leeway, some grace of being a mother of 4, Okay, now we're ready. Let's kind of take this bull by the horns and get started. And so that organizing and stuff was part of that. But then he said COVID happened. And so I think it was scary, obviously, at first, because we didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen. If customers were going to keep coming in, the trucks stopped running from Texas because Texas shut down. And so supplies, logistics, that stuff was an issue. But such as life, I'm just like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. I can control really only the fact that I can keep coming in. I have my own place. I'm fortunate enough that I don't have a bunch of employees that other people had to deal with that and protecting other people. I'm like, okay, like if the state shuts down, at least this is my own place. I can still go in, work in the back. I had a backlog of business that I was still working on. And so I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to keep doing what I can do. Customers did keep coming in. Now, April and May was definitely way slow. But then when things opened back up, I think the downtown areas have gotten a lot of love and support from the local community. So I just kept coming to work every day, really. And then
what else am I going to do?
What else am I going to do? The kids they were all of a sudden exited from school.
Yes.
And as crazy as that was, at least I do have the older children that are a little bit more self-sufficient. And Jack, he was 2.5 at the time. I took him out of daycare. I did make that decision
Right.
to just bring him here with me because I'm able to.
Mhm.
But the older kids helped out with that. My husband was a huge help of like picking him up early so I could work a little bit later and just helping out with the kids in general. And so we had to just kind of keep making adjustments, but somehow kicking our way through it. But worldwide, framers have seemed to kind of have a little bit of an uptick in business.
Really?
And I think it's that home aspect.
Mhm.
People are staring at their walls.
Yeah,
There's
people were quarantined, so they needed DIY
Yes,
projects
yes,
to do. Yeah,
yes.
I mean, you tried to go to Home Depot in March. It was
Right.
insane.
Yes. And so I kind of fell in that category, which was shocking. Like, I mean, I really thought, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
like what is going to happen, but I had luckily made some good decisions of owning this place. So I wasn't paying rent to somebody other than myself,
Right.
the bills are lower. 'Cause
Right.
having to rent a space as big as this anywhere else would have been costing me a lot more money.
Mhm.
And so those little decisions, thank goodness, I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. But yeah, framers, I think is a little bit of a shock to us, because sometimes it's not really a need, it's more of a want.
Mhm.
It's for a lot of people, but I think even like social media has really started to show people the possibilities of custom framing, and that's what I feel like for me, education on the custom framing is even available
Yeah.
is like a huge thing to get more people to use it, because I just didn't even know.
Yeah. Well, and with all the Zoom meetings and everybody able to see what's in the background of your house
Yes.
and stuff like that, you
Yes.
want it to look good.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
your coworkers are judging you.
Yes. And then, I think being a small business, and I've got a nice big design room that I can kind of like keep distance and stuff. I think I had some people that would come in, they were more comfortable using me than going into a big box store.
Right.
That
That personalized experience.
Yes,
Yeah. Mhm.
yes. And so I benefited from that, but yeah,
Did you see a large influx of like online versus that? Or I mean, like growing your online presence more? Was that a contributing factor?
So that's interesting. So the pre-COVID, I've been
You've been building it. But
building
did
it.
did you reap the rewards of that during coronavirus? I guess is the question.
Yes, I believe so. But I kind of halted posting a whole lot because
Mhm.
it felt awkward and strange, and I didn't really know what to post.
Right.
And so I had kind of backed off as far as, I guess, consistency. But I had some videos out there and different things, and I've slowly kind of tried to get back into that rhythm of posting things. I really learned the value, I think, of trying to personalize the posts and
Mhm.
tell the stories, because people have some really cool items that they'll bring in, and they usually mean a lot to them. If they're bringing them in to preserve them and put them up on display, they usually have some sort of cool story.
Yeah.
or
Do you
attachment
have
to it.
any of your favorites that might have popped up during that
Well,
time?
so I guess the first thing that pops in my mind is a post that's getting ready to happen, because baseball opening season is about to begin.
Opening day is
Yes.
coming, yeah.
So I have it scheduled to post for April 1st, because I'm like, okay, this one is going for
Yeah.
baseball opening season. Was a customer had a signature of Mickey Mantle
Wow.
from his grandfather. So it was in this old envelope, and the paper's like kind of old and yellow, and it was kind of torn and stuff, but was able to mount it. And then he had brought in just a online photo of Mickey Mantle. And so you'll see it, but it's a photo of Mickey Mantle, and then shadow boxed it, put like little box walls, and then have the signature thing there. So that's the first one that springs to my mind. The other one that I've was really pleased with, because I'd never framed pillowcases before,
Mhm.
but a customer that does a lot of cross stitching and needlework she brought in a piece that she found while she was cleaning out her stuff. So that's the other thing, people going through and organizing, they're finding stuff. So she had found that she'd been keeping those pillows for years, but her grandmother had actually hand stitched these, and she was the grandmother that had taught her needlework stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and so she brought them in. She wanted to preserve them and present them somehow. And she's like, my husband thinks I'm crazy, but like, yes. And so she had actually came up with the idea to put them kind of facing each other, and I was given permission to cut them because we didn't want too big pillowcases. And anyway, I told her, I was like, you know, because it had this delicate kind of flower stuff. I was like, I just don't think that a square opening fits this. Like, are you okay with me maybe creating something that kind of complements it? And she gave me freedom to do what I wanted. And so she was super excited whenever she came and picked it up. And I just remember, and I don't know if I should say this or not, but I call her and she's like, let me get my pants on, I'll be right over. You know, like
so excited.
Yes, because these pillowcases meant a lot to her. And so she was thrilled with it. And I was happy that she was happy. But yeah, so yeah, finding things has also been that.
Well, and it seems like you found it just my perspective, but I remember a quote that someone asked the CEO of McDonald's what his business was. And he said, or he didn't say hamburgers. Yeah. Everybody was like, but what are you talking about? He's like, no, my business is real estate.
Oh, okay.
Because if you look at where McDonald's is located, they have prime real estate in every community they're in. Your business, like what you sell is frames and custom framing, but your business is cherishing memories.
Right.
Like that's, I mean, it's nostalgia. It's an emotional business. And it seems like you really get that with your customers.
Yes, that's what I think I enjoy most of owning my own business, because like I said, I've done custom framing at other places, but like working part-time, I don't know if it's okay to say hobby lobby or not, but for me, like it's more transactional, you know, they're coming up, you're taking measurements and stuff, you're picking out stuff. You can have some of a a but you're also an hourly employee. So, you know, you're trying, people might be waiting in line a little bit more. And so, and then if you're only part-time, you might not even be working on that piece. You may never even see it completed. They may come pick it up and you didn't even get to see them come. Their reaction. Yes. And so it was not as personable as I prefer as a person. And so that's what I've enjoyed most, of like you get to know people, especially the items that they're bringing in, and they usually almost always have a story behind it. That I really enjoy.
So how did you take that and apply it to 2020 specifically? All the lessons you've learned up to that point, how did that, because again, having a record sales year during a pandemic is not something a lot of people can say they did.
I know. I think knowing, okay, things have come up in life, you've been fine. You know, everything's worked out. You know, it'll be okay. Just like it looks bad right now, but it's going to be okay. And that puts me back to my 9-year-old self. And this has been something that has stuck with me my entire life. Is that I have a twin sister, and I think it was either Earth Day or Arbor Day. They gave everybody a tree to take home and plant. It might have been Earth Day. And I was so upset because my twin's tree was so much better than mine. Hers had two little, it was three pieces, you know, it was mighty looking, you know.
Like Charlie Brown with the Christmas tree.
Mine was this little bitty thing, and she had 2 branches off of her main one. And like, I remember being so jealous, like so jealous of it. And interesting enough, my mother was actually very sick at the time. She had Guillain-Barré syndrome, weird, but she'd like become paralyzed for a while. She's fine now. But my grandfather actually came down and planted those trees with us. And so I remember that, you know, but anyway, my sister's tree ended up dying. Mine has continued to grow. That was 90, it would have been like in 93, would have been when I was in 3rd grade, 93, 94.
That made me feel really old.
Yes,
just saying.
yes. 93, 94. And anyway, I actually got remarried under that tree to my now husband 6 years ago, April 4th. It's coming up. Our anniversary is coming up. Yeah. So it's a redbud tree. And everyone I suggest when you're driving down the road, you'll see these little purple flowers everywhere. Those are the redbuds, because this is the time of year I got married 6 years ago. But I got married under that tree because it's always been one of those life lessons of like, it can look bad. Like, or you can be so jealous and think that you got gypped. You know, everyone else has it better, you know, whatever. And that, like, you never know how it's actually going to turn out in the end. That's
incredible. Like that's a great story.
That is definitely always stuck with me. And so I think as scared of the unknowns that were happening with COVID, I knew, okay, we're hopefully we'll just keep going. We'll make adjustments. You know, I had customers that whenever they were coming in, it's like, okay, you know, don't really have access to everything, but I do have quite a bit of like remnants and some in-stock materials.
That was my next question. How did you handle the supply shortage with an increased demand?
Yes. So I kind of knew what I had in stock, or like, hey, you know, let's look, hold on, I'll be right back. Let me go see if I have it. You know, one customer, he really wanted to get, it was actually the Rogers like train station photo. He wanted to get it for his wife, and he wanted like a red mat. Well, I didn't have one that was like the color that he was, it's like a red leather chair, I think, in their house. And he was kind of wanting to pull in just a little bit of that red.
Absolutely,
yes. And so what I ended up doing was I've got these little like, they're called fillets, but they go inside of a mat or on a frame, just kind of embellish it. But I had plenty of length of fillet in the back, but nothing red. And so I painted it red and used it. I'm like, okay, you know, there's all these other resources. I can kind of create what I need. It doesn't have to be exact what's on the wall. We can make some changes, work with what we have. And so the kind of the artistic skills came into play. And my job in general is problem solving. If people bring me all kinds of stuff, then I have to work out how to display it. And it's not all just flat pieces of paper. I got 3D items and everything. Right. Yes. And so just that.
The delicacy of the 60-year-old Mickey Mantle.
Yes. There's that having to problem solve. So I just started solving the different problems. And so people came in and we needed something specific. We could create it, just work with what we had. So I guess really a nutshell would be just problem solving.
Right.
And trying to keep a good attitude, I guess.
So looking at what the adaptions you had to make throughout 2020 and, you know, even into 2021 throughout coronavirus, as it's starting to come to an end, you know, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Vaccines are rolling out. We're getting there. As things open back up and get back to quote unquote normal, what changes have you made that you're going to continue and have implemented that are going to, this is now how you do business versus we're going to go back to the old way? I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit of both on each.
Hours are probably going to be the thing that I really keep in place. Right now, I have fairly limited hours for people to come in. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like noon to 5. I'm here a lot of times outside of that, but with being busy, I've found that, and being a mom, because that's why I changed it to noon, was because my 3-year-old took a nap at noon. And so so let's try to like lessen some of the chaos by just waiting till noon, and then life can begin. But yeah, so the hours, I feel like, because I think I hope that everyone is kind of like giving themselves some grace during this time of like, let's just slow down, like it'll be okay, you know, not everything has to be so rushed. So hours, and then, you know, contactless type stuff. I have some customers, like we can do drop off and pick up at the door, you know, or right outside the door because I've got a covered porch.
Right.
And you know, we can do FaceTime. I've done a lot more of like taking pictures and sending them, which that was kind of happening before, but I think people are realizing, like, okay, like if they have that trusted relationship with me, I have one customer from Russellville that she uses me, and she sent me something in the mail so I could frame it for her, because she's like, I trust you, do it, send it back. But I've had online customers, and so photos work well for that, or Zoom meetings, well, usually FaceTime.
I think they're synonymous at this point.
Yes. Yeah. And so I think that maybe people utilizing that a little bit more. But it's interesting because, again, like for me, that relationship with the customer, it's kind of a trust thing. But I think some of my customers maybe that have been in here quite a bit, they're more open to, you know what, I can just send it to her, and she can frame it and send it back to me, or, you know, if they need to do the contactless stuff, that's worked out well. And so I think some of that will probably still continue, just depending on people's comfort level. But it works.
I mean, any inventory management, I mean, obviously having to deal with supply shortages that change how you operate. Did you find any room for efficiencies or ways to just kind of, cost saving measures, things like that?
I did save up. It's one of those things where I'm like, okay, I need to make sure that I have extra on hand. I really stocked up on my like glass supplies and things. It was like, if the truck's shut down again, that's the hardest thing.
Well, as we were in this week, just one boat getting sideways will halt 12% of the whole shipping.
Yes. So I'm wondering how that will affect, because there have definitely been items that I've been waiting like 2-3 months on to get back in stock. And so that's industry wise, a lot of stuff is made over in Italy. And so some of those back orders have caused some issues or some wait time. Some customers want to wait, and then others it's like, let's just make a change. We can choose something that's similar. I can paint something, a certain color.
Figuring out creative solutions.
Yes. Because I have done a lot more creative stuff, more hand painting of mats and things like that this past year. And so that I think will continue. I think that I'm definitely embracing that artistic side of me and kind of running with that, because that it also I think puts me a little bit more niche than being able to just send something online to some like online, because they have online options for framing, but it's more for those flat items, posters, whatever, that you just want a simple mat, a simple frame, but like the more custom, and there's a great framer that he calls it transformational framing, and that really includes the painting of the mats and the frame and stuff to all work with that particular piece. And so that I think I'm going to embrace more, and we'll probably, out of necessity of logistics and having back orders, we'll need to do for sure.
So kind of a mini shift, but not, you're adding to your business out of necessity, but you learned this is something that my customers enjoy. Like you enjoy being able to do it. So you're going to, keep it moving forward.
Yeah.
Before we open it up to any questions, are there anything that I haven't asked that you would like me to? I know you got your notes and stuff over there. I called you out for it. You haven't referenced them once though.
I know I haven't. Thank you. I was very nervous. No, it's been good. I didn't even need those notes.
Exactly. I told you you'd be fine.
Yeah. I don't think so. Right now, I think I'm ready for any questions.
All right. Did we have any come through on the chat?
Let's see if they come up.
All right. Does anybody have any? I've got some more questions, but wanted to give anybody attendees to, if you guys had any questions thus far, you can go ahead and unmute and ask. Miss Wagaman.
Hi, I've got some feedback from one of our sponsors. Kelly Miller from Go Squeeze did jump on the call, but then she had to leave. So she apologized for being late, but she did want everyone in the audience to know that she had to leave to take a call. She did put some notes in the comment field. She wants everyone to know that her company is breaking into Northwest Arkansas with their squeezable fruit pouches, and they are excited to connect with local businesses, and she wants everyone to know they're happy to support all of the local businesses or even special events with product samples when it makes sense. And she said she's here to support the NWA marketplace. So if you want to reach out to her, her contact information should be there. I will repost it just in case. And she also encouraged everyone to visit their new Instagram page, which is NWA Go Squeeze FANZ. I'll copy that as well. And she shared her email and her phone number. So
If you could, yeah,
give them
if
a
you could
shout
email that
out.
to me directly, we'll make sure to get that out to all the attendees.
Okay, that would be excellent. Thank you.
So, yeah.
All my kids love Go Squeeze.
And if we were able, when Hustle and Heels is able to get back in person, there will be samples and things at future events. So we are again very, very grateful for Go Squeeze being a sponsor for today as well. Karen, I do like how you're named as me though. That is kind of interesting.
I think that's left over from last night's
Staff
meeting.
I don't know how y'all are doing this. It's kind of creeping me out.
But I was able to respond to questions to you, and I let some people into the call. So there.
Well, there we go. That works. All right. A question I had, does somebody else have any questions before I want to make sure everybody has a chance. All right. This is the economic developer in me and small business entrepreneur person, but you mentioned going to the ASBTDC. How was that experience like? I mean, the chamber works with them. They're great partners. Been working with them for well over a decade. Like what was that experience like, being someone who wanted to start a business, really didn't know what you were doing, but needed to get that guidance?
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy that I worked with. I think I was most impressed with like them being able to pull some data.
5 years ago, probably would have been Bill Fox, would be my guess. He was there.
I know it was a guy.
It was Bill. He was the only
Okay.
guy working.
Okay, it was Bill. Yeah, I found it helpful because, I mean, you can look up YouTube videos or different things on Google.
Mhm.
I was kind of just fumbling my way through it. I don't know if that's the most eloquent way of saying it, but like, I didn't know for sure if I was doing it right, or like who's going to grade me on this. And so being able to kind of talk through what you're doing or their suggestions. But I specifically remember like the data, like them being able to pull, like, here's kind of, they can like tell you kind of the income earnings in different areas.
Yeah, the demographic data.
Yes. And so that I found helpful because I was kind of needing that. And then just as you're like taking on that risk of a business, like, okay, does it make sense? You know, I had to like prove that it made sense to the banks. At the same time, I was proving that it made sense to myself.
It's weird.
So.
It's like they want to know you can pay back the loan, which doesn't make sense. But I
Or
guess
they'll take your firstborn.
they've been around forever,
Yeah.
so I guess they know what they're doing.
Yeah, but I found it extremely helpful, and then just doing the SBA in general was helpful. And honestly, it's been helpful with COVID. They have done some automatic helping of businesses with the SBA loan that I didn't even have to apply for it.
Yeah, there was some. I know there were some freezes on some things. There was the EIDL loans.
Yeah. Like I didn't even have to go and apply for anything. It was just an automatic. But the banker's like, hey, like they're. I'm like, oh. What? Like I didn't even ask. Yeah. So that was actually very
The
helpful
government did
too.
something right.
Like, okay, are there strings attached to this? Yeah. So that was. I'm glad that I went through the SBA and then.
How nerve-wracking was it turning in that application for that loan?
Yeah.
Not knowing what's coming down on the other end.
I'm like, hopefully they don't judge me too bad. They accepted it. So
Obviously we're here.
So it was good. Like no one gave me like a final grade on it.
Mhm.
But and then just one thing that I did learn through it that I'm like, I wonder if if everyone else might have known this. I did not. So during the application process with the SBA, there was a specific question that asked if I had ever like defaulted on a government loan or whatever. I marked no, because I'm like, I haven't had a government loan.
Mhm.
I
Student
had
loans.
student loans. I did not know that.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that. And so the banker's like, hey, like, you know, that is actually you have had one. I'm like, what? And he's like,
You didn't default on it.
yeah,
but
I
you
didn't
still
default
did
on it.
have
Yes,
it, yeah.
luckily I had even, they were paid off, but that is something that's like never default on your student loan, or tell your colleges do not default on that student loan, because then you're not able to access
Well,
SBA.
Yeah.
If you have defaulted on like a Sally Mae
Mhm.
student loan, yeah, it will have other repercussions. So,
And you can't bankrupt your way out of it either.
Right.
That's one of the things people don't understand. Oh, just declare bankruptcy. Not for those.
Yeah, yes. So that's one thing that like, I definitely was like, oh my gosh, like, does
Mhm.
anyone else know this? Like,
That's a good point. Like,
because
yeah.
that could, I've just heard a lot of people have student loans and debt out there. And so, yeah, defaulting on those can have far-reaching consequences.
And that would have been, you could have got that and then 10, 15 years later, still like trying to, come back for another loan or
Yeah.
start another business. Yeah.
Right, yes, yeah,
So-
matters, pay your bills.
So what does the future hold? Get your crystal ball. Do you see yourself still here 5 years from now celebrating 10 years?
I
Do you see
hope
a
so.
second shop? Like, kind of what's the plans?
I hope so. I definitely see myself here. I do not see myself doing a second shop.
No franchising?
No, I know, because I'm like, I have found that I didn't realize like people will drive some distances. I actually had a new customer come up from Fort Smith
Wow.
last week. And so thank you, Chamber, for making Rogers a great place, because like they came up and they was like, well, my hours are noon, whatever, I'm here. I was like, why don't we do 11 o'clock and then you'll be done and you can probably go grab lunch in downtown. And so they were excited to do that. And so, yeah, they came in a little bit before lunch and then they left and they were able to have lunch. And they, I think, like the idea of getting to come up for the day and kind of doing a little day trip and have some places to enjoy.
It's like us jumping over to Eureka. It's them coming up to
Yes,
Rogers. And
yes.
we always love when money comes from out of the area and gets spent locally.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, right now I'm like, well, if I feel like the right customers will hopefully find me, because that's the one thing, like I felt like I have fantastic customers. And
Mhm.
Robin had told me that before I bought the place. She was like, I have like the best customers and everyone has been so great. And then I've gotten new ones.
Yeah,
and
I was going to
yes.
ask, was it a lot of, a carryover of the existing that just kind of, so you did have a
Yes
built-in
and no.
customer base? a
Mhm.
little bit.
Yes, I
Yeah.
definitely had a built-in customer base. I feel like over the last couple of years, I've had a lot more new customers coming in. And because, I mean, this business has been downtown since 1975.
Yeah.
And it's been here at this location in this building since 95.
Mhm.
And so it's well established, but not everyone knew that a shop existed down here. So
Right.
that's more people are learning that. And then putting more stuff out there online. I think people are able to find you. And then if they're looking for very custom stuff, that they'll drive a little bit further. It's not necessarily just in your town. So no, probably not a franchise. But definitely hope to be here in the next 10 years. I'm excited about all the downtown stuff, for sure.
Are you training the kids to take over one day?
I wish. I've got my oldest is definitely artistically inclined, and I have had her help me out some, and I do trust her a lot, like to be able to do stuff. She's very detail oriented, but I think she wants to go kind of forge her own path,
Yeah.
at the moment.
But you never know. She
Yeah,
can go from daycare
yeah.
back to framing,
My 3-year-old seems to like all of mommy's tools a lot. He's always trying to grab something. But I don't know. And I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
Maybe one day someone will come along and say, hey, like, are you willing to sell your business? You never know.
But again, you made me feel old. So, you definitely have lots of time before you have to start thinking about transitioning out of the business.
Yeah, I hope so. Yes. I'm not too old yet.
All right. Well, do we have any other questions before we wrap up here today? All right. Well, not seeing any, Kerbie, we want to thank you so much
Thank you.
for your participation in today. Obviously, just getting to hear your story, the inspiration behind it, and just kind of the ways that you were able to take business practices and be successful when, you know, there were people that had a lot of challenges and a lot of struggles last year. To hear a success story come out of it is uplifting to everybody. So we appreciate you and the Frame Shoppe. We're located on 3rd Street in downtown Rogers here. So you have an online presence or follow Insta, Twitter,
yes,
whatever. They're all the
Facebook and Instagram.
there's the
Yes.
7 million social networks that are out there.
Yes, it's at NWA Picture Frames because there's a lot of frame shops as far as nationally goes. And so, yeah, it's NWA Picture Frames is where you'll find me online. Yeah, I appreciate you
So,
guys.
and apparently we got the preview. Something's coming out April 1st.
Yes,
So we don't
yes.
know what it, we're going
Yes,
to see what it is.
everyone go look for it, and hopefully it looks as good as I talked it up. But
All right. Well, thank you
Thank
again
you.
for joining us. Again, this is recorded, so it will be available on social media. The Hustle and Heels Facebook page and Instagram can link to the Chamber's YouTube page to be able to see this video on demand. You can share that with anybody. Would like to thank our sponsors for Hustle and Heels, which was Go Squeeze being our education sponsor. Connection sponsor was Glad Manufacturing, and then our signage sponsor of Printova Signs. And so we again appreciate all of their support. Would be remiss, I was told with explicitness, I had to let everybody know that our next Hustle and Heels event is going to be taking place May 20th. The topic is called The Benefits of Girl Power. And the speaker is going to be Tina Gilbert. She is the founder and president of Next Level Training and Solutions Group out of Springdale. And this will be an in-person event on May 20th. So we will be back to doing our luncheons for Hustle and Heels. But the location is TBD at the moment. I know in the past has been at NWAC or at the Supply Chain Hall of Fame. So just got to see what venues are going to be available. But we'll be pushing that out as well through both the Chamber and the Hustle and Heels social media. And then again, as we try to get to May 20th for that. So thank you guys very much for joining us. Again, Kerbie, thank you. And Jennifer Fox with House Inc. at Thrive Real Estate. We appreciate you. And again, thank you for letting us know earlier that everything was okay with Kayla for her not being able to be here today. So appreciate all of you guys. And we will see you on May 20th.
thank you. I just need